Hey everyone, what's going on? A lot of times in these videos, I talk about the synchronicities that I have and how my own life is often synced up to a lot of the mainstream media stories. And if you just follow the synchronicities and you follow the way that your life is synced up to these stories, you can find a lot of interesting things and a lot of interesting patterns, even sometimes predict things that are going to be coming up within the mainstream media. You know, for example, a long time ago, I predicted that Pink would sing the national anthem at the Super Bowl, all because I was watching a Zachary K. Hubbard video, and my cat was sitting on my lap and I had to go pee, and when I got up, my cat got mad. And when I came back and sat down, I told my cat, "There you go," and I patted my lap so the cat could jump back up on my lap. And right as I said, "There you go," on Zach's video, he played a clip of Alex Jones, and Alex Jones said, "There you go." And I thought to myself, what are the odds of that? He says, "There you go," at the exact same time that I said, "There you go." And I didn't think too much of it until a few days later when I was watching the movie The Number 23 again. And in that movie, he does the complicated way of coming up with the gematria of the color pink, right? And really, in reduced gematria, the word pink just equals 23. You don't have to do it all crazy like red plus white and so on. And also in that movie, he's reading the book. I can't remember what the book's called, but it's called Fingerling at the Zoo, right? And so the main character in the book is called Fingerling. And the next day at work, my girlfriend texted me about this finger puppet toy that my daughter wanted, and it turned out to be called a fingerling, and I didn't know that it was called a fingerling. And I was like, that's interesting. Last night I just watched number 23 with, it involves fingerling. So I looked up fingerling, and on Wikipedia it talked about this Dutch film called Pinkeljaai. So I was like, the color pink, and Pinkeljaai, and then it also talked about the pinky finger with fingerling. So I was like, I wonder if there's something important to the singer Pink, or just to the color pink. And I looked up the singer Pink, and it just so happens that her first single was called There You Go. And I was like, what are the odds? Just a few days ago, I had this synchronicity with There You Go. And a lot of the stuff I was documenting about at that time, was about standing during the national anthem and how it was synced up to the Super Bowl. So I thought, Pink is probably going to sing the national anthem at the Super Bowl. And then a month later, they announced that Pink was going to sing the national anthem at the Super Bowl. And then later that year in August, on August 6th, we had the major story in the mainstream media was that Alex Jones got kicked off of social media. And right next to that story was a story about Pink, the singer, canceling her show in Australia. And there's a whole lot more that goes along with that as well, because in July that year, I was talking about how there was a theme with ducks and how it was synced up to the Mighty Ducks. And then, like, the next day, we got the Branson, Missouri duck boat drowning or crash or whatever you want to call it, duck boat drowning. And I mentioned how it was synced up to Goldberg, the goalie from the movie The Mighty Ducks. And then a few weeks later, on August 5th, I believe it was, Goldberg, the goalie, got arrested for doing meth. And I looked up Goldberg, the goalie, and the last movie that he was in was called Drill Bit Taylor. And that movie was a John Hughes movie, and John Hughes just so happened to die on August 6th. And he was born on 2/18, the same day that Molly Ringwald was born. And Molly Ringwald and John Hughes are both famous for the movie Pretty in Pink. And anyway, that movie Drill Bit Taylor is the main point of the movie, is that the guy gets his pinky finger chopped off at the end of the movie, and a whole lot more. There was all of these interesting syncs going on with the exact same pattern that I was following, all stemming back to my cat getting mad about me having to pee, and I said, "There you go," for my cat to jump on my lap, right? So I'm just making the point that our own lives are very, very important to this knowledge. Although I do believe that there is a cabal or some type of something that exists, and I do think that we live in a world that we don't fully understand, and that's why I keep pushing this and keep talking about these same things, and I don't just make short videos all of the time showing how these patterns mean the Jesuits and so on. And oftentimes I do think that it's connected to the Jesuits. I absolutely agree. It's connected to some other things, but I also think that whatever is truly happening, I feel like that they're trying to, I feel like they even control the Gematria truth community. They control a lot of things in this world, and the only way that we're going to stop these people is not by, I mean, I'm all for protesting and so on, but I don't feel like we're going to change the world by doing this, you know? There's too many people in the world who just don't care, for one. I don't know how many times I've shown my friends this knowledge, and, you know, you can show them the simplest thing ever, like, let's see here. I just recently made a post about the Iowa Hawkeye player. Hold on, let me just type it out really quick. Just want to make a quick point here, but I recently we had the story about Iowa's Luka Garza and how they retired his number 55 jersey, right? And the reason I live in Iowa and one of my friends is a Iowa Hawkeye fan and so on, but I pointed out how Iowa Hawkeyes equal 55 and 145, just like Luka Garza equals 55 and 145. And he wears the number 55, and now they're retiring his number 55, right? And they did it after the game of Wisconsin. Wisconsin equals 55, you know? The coach equals 119, just like Hawkeyes. Hawkeyes also equals 145 in the Francis Bacon cipher. And Iowa equals 119 in the Francis Bacon cipher. You know, I didn't even type all this out to him. Retirement equals 55. And they're retiring his jersey. But this is, you know, I send stuff like this on Snapchat. And my friends, they'll say, well, that's interesting. But then they don't care, really. It's like, all right, well, when's the next game? I'm going to watch the game. Who cares? They won't go apply it. That's how most people are. They don't care about this knowledge. And I feel like the people who are ruling over us, you know, like the Lady Gaga story and her dogs, it's obviously the stupidest story. It's not even real. You know what I mean? Like, what kind of dogs don't bark? And, you know, they don't even show the dogs. And, I mean, remember the Walmart shooting a while back? I can't remember what it was. Was it the El Paso one? Where they had, like, the grainiest, terrible-looking video camera in the world. But yeah, if you go to Walmart right now and look at the video camera, it's like super high def, like awesome camera. But yet when there's a shooting, they get a camera from 1980. You know, I totally get it. There is a cabal, or, you know, they're using this, and they're psychologically, and there's different techniques that they're using to rule the world. And it always syncs up to Gematria, but sometimes I wonder if, you know, we just have to understand the Gematria a lot more, and the world, there's something much greater in this world that is going on, and literally every single day I have synchronicities, every single day, like all day long, and there's just something that we're missing. There's a missing piece to all of this, although I do agree that there is a cabal, but I think they're controlling us too, you know, psychologically. They know how to put a certain story in front of you that you're going to click on because you're attracted to it, because they know how your brain works, you know, and then you look at that story and then you can realize, oh, there's all these things connected and so on. And with that being said, you know, let's go into this. So on, what day was it? I don't remember what day it was. I blogged about it on March 11th, though. I came home from work or whatever, and I went to Yahoo, and they had a story down here that said, musician taking a break after controversial tweet. And I don't know why I was drawn to it. I've been playing a lot of music lately. I've had a lot of shows. I've been DJing a lot. I have to DJ later tonight even, or March 17th. And I don't know. I even clicked on Masked Singer, but like, musician taking a break after controversial tweet. And I go to it and it says, Mumford & Sons Winston Marshall taking time away from band. And then as you're reading the article, it talks about how he's taken a step away because he got criticism for supporting Andy No's book that just came out on the 33rd day of the year. And I'm going, right away, this has to be connected to Zach, right? Because Zach just went to Portland and got bear sprayed. And, you know, what are the odds? I've never heard of anybody in my life being bear sprayed before. Like, that's the first time I've ever heard that anybody's ever got bear sprayed. And, you know, maybe pepper sprayed, but never bear spray. And then they come out and say that Brian Sicknick from the Capitol building thing, he died from getting bear sprayed in the face, and it's all synced up to Zach that I'll show about here in a second. But, you know, this is what I'm saying. Like, these stories are connected to us. And anyway, I figured I'd look up Winston Marshall and this story and so on. And if you go from this guy's birthday to the day that he tweeted about taking a step back and so on, it just so happens to be 80 days, also 2 months and 18 days. And Andy No just so happens to equal 80 in Gematria. And I also pointed out in a previous post, because I was talking about this number 218 a whole lot and how it was connected to Zach and the truth community and so on. But if you write out Andy No's full name, it equals 218 in the Francis Bacon ciphers. And keep in mind that Zach Hubbard equals 186, and he got bear sprayed 186 days before his birthday. And, you know, his name equals that in the Francis Bacon ciphers, something that I've been saying are very important. But anyway, the way it's connected to Zach here, this guy, he just so happens to be 33 years old, and his birthday, the story just so happened to happen 33 weeks exactly after Zach's birthday, right? So 33 weeks after Zach's birthday, this guy's 33 years old. The word Winston equals 33, something we pointed out with the book 1984 and so on, right? But Winston 33. Remember when Zach went to Portland he went to protest against Antifa being there protesting against Andy No's book at Powell's bookstore in Portland, Oregon on January 16th, 116, and Portland equals 116. And it was all about the number 33 though. Powell's equal 33. Andy No released his book on the 33rd day of the year. Zach went there because of a story that he read on January 11th that had a date numerology of 33. Oregon's the 33rd state. I also pointed out how Antifa equals 137 in the Francis Bacon ciphers, and so does Joe Rogan, and the 33rd prime number is 137. And Andy No went on the Joe Rogan show 33 days before Joe Rogan's birthday. And anyway, it's all about 33, right? And Zach went there to hand out his book and stop, you know, protest against Antifa, basically. And it's interesting because Zach's book released 3 months and 3 days before he went there to Portland, right? Exactly 3 months and 3 days before. So he's talking about Andy No's book coming out on the 33rd day of the year, but his book came out 3 months and 3 days before he went there and got bear sprayed in the face. And it's also interesting because it was the 16th day of the year, and the word 16, if you write it out as words, it equals 33. And the word book just so happens to equal 16. And keep in mind, this was at a bookstore, and the bookstore was called Powell's, that equals 33. And, you know, the word book, 16, Zach went to Portland on the 16th day of the year, and him and Andy No's books released exactly 16 weeks apart, both connected to the number 33, and 16 equals 33. You know, so what are the odds? This 33-year-old got not Winston whatever, Winston Marshall, 33-year-old, connected to Andy No. The story comes 33 weeks exactly after Zach's birthday. Just want to go back over here. You know, and then a few days later, Zach started talking about Andy No again on his blog, and it just so happened to be on January 26th, and Portland equals 126 in the Francis Bacon ciphers, and, you know, that's a very important number. That's why the Portland Trailblazers were the team that the Lakers played right after Kobe Bryant died and so on. But anyway, Another interesting thing with Zach and how it connects to the media is that recently, back in January, after that happened, he made a video and he started it off by playing the Tyrese song, Sweet Lady. And that's because people have been giving him crap about always calling his girlfriend Sweet Lady, right? And Sweet Lady equals 33. So people have been pointing that out. Sweet Lady 33. And I totally believe him, right? That he's like my age, that song, and so on, right? And, that's why he calls his girlfriend Sweet Lady. And not intentionally or whatever. But what's interesting is that his girlfriend is actually from Burma, which he's pointed out countless times. And Burma is now Myanmar. And just days after Zach makes this video talking about, defending why he calls his girlfriend Sweet Lady, the mainstream media story is about a coup that happens in Myanmar, right? And that coup just so happened to be 170 days before Zach's birthday. And Zach's full name, Zachary Keith Hubbard, equals 170. And the lady that they overthrew was this lady. I'm not even going to try to pronounce her name, but notice she was born on June 19th, which just so happens to be the 170th day of the year, right? So this story about Myanmar, right after Zach defends why he calls his girlfriend from Myanmar Sweet Lady, comes 170 days before his birthday. And I'm sure it's probably connected to his girlfriend too. I just don't know anything other than she's from Burma and he calls her Sweet Lady. But, I'm sure there's more to find with that. But 170 days before his birthday, his name 170, the lady they overthrew, born on the 170th day of the year. It was also about it was connected to the Myanmar election that was 85 days before, and Myanmar equals 85. And Zach's original channel was called Zachary K. Hubbard, that equals 85 in Gematria, right? And I also pointed out it was 2 months and 24 days, this other number that I have been following. And Tyrese's full name equals 224. And it's interesting, too, that the Sweet Lady song, the single, actually released on my birthday. Trying to find it here. Peter goes slow. Yeah, November 10th, 1998. So, even funny, it released on my 16th birthday even, right? How funny is that? 16, and talked about how 16 equals 33, and so on. And I've talked about how me and Zach have been connected for a long time, And, remember all the 8/11 stuff? And there was all kinds of syncs with that. But I'm born exactly 8 months and 11 days before Zach was born, right? 8 months and 11 days. And I don't know, there's just all kinds of syncs that I've had with him over the years. But anyway, in regards to 170 then, so we got 170 here. So then, on the same day as the Super Bowl, right? Super Bowl 55, Zach gets a strike on his channel. And there's a whole bunch of other stuff here, but, it was, the strike was on a video that was all about the number 19. And this is a number that I had been following in connection to a lot of this. I even talked about how I was watching for January 9th and connected. And then Zach did that interview with RV Truth, which was really odd to me. That him and RV Truth all of a sudden are they're doing an interview together. When RV Truth is the guy who's made videos about the car crashing into Zach's house and a whole bunch of stuff, right? That seems very weird. And talked about the RV bombing on Christmas and how that was synced up to RV Truth, and it was synced up to Bobby Simpson and a whole lot more, right? So it's not just all about Zach, but talking about how it's all about the number 19, and that number 19 is synced up to Allen Iverson and AI, like artificial intelligence. And then a few days after this post, I talked about robots or something, and then Zach makes a blog post and a video about Sophia the robot, just a random thing, but probably not intentional, but, once again, I just want to point these things out. Because the more that we understand this, the more, we can understand what's truly happening in this world and how these things are going on, so we can hopefully learn to use this knowledge, rid this knowledge, whatever we have to do to, create a better world and get rid of these people ruling over us with it, right? Or get rid of whatever is ruling over us, if it's not people, I don't know all of the answers, but I feel like we need to share all of this, not just say that everything is the cabal when we don't absolutely know for sure, so anyway, notice how Zach's strike came 201 days after his birthday too, right? This big number we've talked about with the Jesuits and so on, 201. It's interesting because the word the moon's really important this year, right? It's the 51st anniversary of the moon landing. The word moon equals 51, and it also equals 21, and it's the year 21, and so on. And Zach's birthday just so happens to be the anniversary of Neil Armstrong stepping foot on the moon, right? And Neil Armstrong, his full name equals 201. The word Apollo equals 201. The moon landing, where they actually landed on the moon, was the day before Zach's birthday, which is the 201st day of the year. Buzz Aldrin was born on 20/1, right? So interesting they would do this 201 days after Zach's birthday. We got Event 201 synced up to coronavirus, and Bill Gates in Seattle, where Zach is, originally, or he's from that area, and so on, right? And Seattle also has the Space Needle, but the whole point I was trying to make is that in Jewish gematria, the word moon equals 170, right? So this is the same day as Super Bowl 55 as well, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who Zach says he predicted all year or whatever, that, Tampa Bay Buccaneers equal 170. And then on the day of the Super Bowl, 201 days after his birthday, they strike his channel. Tom Brady also equals 170 in the Francis Bacon ciphers. Back in April, we got a story about whoever the backup quarterback was for Tom Brady. We got a story about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers signing him 170 days before his birthday. So this number 170 is pretty important. And I'm going to come back to some things, but I want to skip over a few things here because I want to stay on the number 170 here. But let me find the bear spray thing. Oh, geez, I can't even type. It's so cold out in this garage. Oh, my God. Hold on. Sorry. Bear spray. But back in February, it was the 57th day of the year, I believe it was. Yeah, 226. They released this story about Brian Sicknick, the cop who supposedly died at the Capitol building thing, right? And, his name, once again, Brian Sicknick. But he was 42 years old, and they say that he died from bear spray. And this story came on the 57th day of the year, and, look at bear spray here. Bear spray. I can't do it. There we go. Bear spray equals 42 and 57. So we get the story on the 57th day of the year. And bear spray equals 42, and he was a 42-year-old who supposedly died from bear spray. And what's even more interesting about this whole thing is, once again, that's the only other time I've ever heard of anybody being bear sprayed. And I can see how they can build a story around Zach getting bear sprayed, but I can't understand how they can make Zach go to Portland on 116, right? And Portland equals 116, and it's all synced up to his book, and so on. And then, of course, his book also did come out on the October 13th on Amazon, which is the anniversary of the Knights Templar being wiped out in history. And that's also the same day that Pope Paul III became the Pope. And Pope Paul III is the Pope who approved the Jesuits, right? And it came 84 days after Zach's birthday, and the word Jesuit equals 84. And Zach's first book, Letters and Numbers, type it in, letters, ampersand numbers, it equals 56, 187, 191, just like Society of Jesus, and so on, right? So there's a huge connection, and I'm not saying he did it on purpose, but even before this book, Number Games, it's all about the Jesuits and so on. It feels to me like the way that we learned about Event 201 seems very, very, fishy to me. Zach staying in room 201, and then some guy named Dr. Paul Cottrell, or whatever his name was, reaches out to him, and his name equals 201, and he tells him to research Event 201. And just before this, we have Larry Johnson, who starts sharing Gematria, and he starts sharing Gematria on the same day as Event 201, and then he later does an interview with Zach, and I'll get to that in a minute, but I want to stick on this. But it just seems to me that they like push this narrative on us because they know how to manipulate even us, right? And I've shown this over the years too. Same with reverse gematria. They did all this stuff and they flipped the script, right? But flipping the script was part of the script that they had written for us, right? And then we ended up learning the reverse gematria, right? The flipped gematria, the backwards way. It became very important after that, and so on. And all kinds of stuff. I don't want to re-talk about it. I've talked about it a billion times, like Zach's car crash and my uncle dying and, the guy mocking my blog and all synced up. So I'm just saying, I feel like they control us too. I don't know how they're doing it or what, but I feel like they can somehow make us, they know our brains, right? And they know that we're going to be attracted to a certain thing, or, they know how to somehow use magic or whatever it is to get us to do certain things, such as Zach maybe going to Portland on that certain day, or maybe that is all just part of the ultimate plan of the matrix or whatever we live in. I don't know all the answers, right? That's what I'm trying to figure out. And I know I'm rambling, but I feel like that's the only way to get my point across, is to keep rambling about this. But anyway, I knew that Brian Sicknick had to be connected to Zach, right? The 42-year-old who gets bear sprayed, and bear spray equals 42. And that story just so happened to come a span of 42 days after Zach got bear sprayed. So I was like, what are the odds of that? Bear spray 42? 42 days after Zach got bear sprayed. He was 42 years old. So I looked up when this guy died, and he died on January 7th. Or he also got bear sprayed on January 6th. So you could say that he died 170 days after Zach's birthday, or he got bear sprayed a span of 170 days after Zach's birthday. And remember, Zach's name equals 170. And then I looked up that guy, and that guy's birthday was July 30th. And if you go to the day that Zach got bear sprayed, it was 170 days. What are the odds of that? So Brian Sicknick dies 170 days after Zach's birthday from bear spray. And then Zach gets bear sprayed 170 days after Brian Sicknick's birthday. And then, on the 42 days out later, and bear spray equals 42, they come out with a story, right? It's what are the odds of this? And then they did the same number with the Myanmar story, 170 days before Zach's birthday. The lady being overthrown was born on the 170th day of the year. They strike his channel the same day the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, that equal 170, win the Super Bowl. It's just what are the odds of this? We got to show this stuff, It's very, very important. I've already talked about this in a previous video, but Zach re-uploaded his Larry Johnson video after Super Bowl 55, and he just so happened to upload it exactly 55 weeks after the interview. Find it here. The interview was on January 22nd, and then Zach re-uploaded this video right after Super Bowl 55, and he uploaded the video because of Super Bowl 55 to show that, the NFL is scripted and so on. But notice it's exactly 55 weeks later. This is in reference to Super Bowl 55. Keep in mind, Larry Johnson, he started sharing Gematria on the same day as Event 201, and I knew it was all synced up to the Chiefs back then, but when he finally did an interview with Zach, he did it on January 22nd, which was 64 days after his birthday. And Kansas City Chiefs equals 64. 49ers equals 64. That's who played in Super Bowl 54. If you write out Kansas City, it equals 122. If you write out San Francisco, it equals 122. San Francisco is located on the 122nd meridian. And, you know, this interview, Larry finally did an interview with Zach on January 22nd, 1/22. Larry and Zach's birthdays are separated by 122 days even. And Larry also shared Gematria on the same day as event 201. That was 32 days, or also 1 month and 1 day before his birthday. Chiefs equal 32 and 31, and the 11th prime number is 31. And then the Chiefs went on to win Super Bowl 54 by 11 points, and they scored 31 points. And Zach's interview with Larry just happened to be 11 days before Super Bowl 54. Right? All of these numbers synced up to the Chiefs and the 49ers and so on. It's like, what are the odds of that, right? Larry Johnson decides to do this interview on 1/22, 64 days after his birthday, synced up to the Chiefs, the 49ers like no other. And then Zach randomly releases this video again, re-uploads it 55 weeks after Super Bowl 55 that had the Chiefs, and the Chiefs lost to the Patriots, who scored 31 points. You know, of all things, right? 31 points. Or I think I said the Patriots, but they lost to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, right? Patriots, Tom Brady, that's why I got it mixed up. But also, when Zach uploaded that video, Larry Johnson was 41 years old. He re-uploaded it. The word Super Bowl's 41. He uploaded it on the 41st day of the year. He also re-uploaded that video 83 days after Larry Johnson's birthday, which is also 2 months and 22 days. Remember last year when the Chiefs won, or in 2020, it was all about the number 222 and 22, and so on. And then this year they lost by 22 points. Synced up to Tiger King that I showed in the video, but the word football's 83. Tom Brady's birthday is 83. Two months, 22 days as well. And recall Super Bowl. Super Bowl 56 will be held in the Rams Stadium in 2022. I don't know why I wrote that in there for sure. Can't remember. He also did it 282 days before Larry Johnson's 42nd birthday. And 42 is a big number on black people and so on, right? And Charles Manson equals 282 and the Francis Bacon, and something I talked about because Larry Johnson was born on Charles Manson's birthday. And the whole reason I even really looked into any of this was because I had this synchronicity with a weird Facebook message from a guy who was born on 12/29, which is the 201st prime number, and can't even remember what it was. Can't remember why that was important. Oh, his name. His name equaled the same as Charles Manson and all the Francis Bacon ciphers. And then the very next thing I clicked on, that came up in my feed or whatever, was this video that Zach re-uploaded, and it was about Larry Johnson, right? And I was like, well, Larry Johnson I talked about was synced up to Charles Manson back in 2019, so yeah. So I had a synchronicity basically showing me this narrative with Charles Manson again. I don't remember what else I was going to talk about, but I'm just trying to make a point, I guess, or maybe not even make a point. I just want to show these things. Like, it's not always about me, but our own lives are connected to these stories somehow. Doesn't necessarily mean that we're, even like this, like Zach posted about Young Pharaoh, right? And Young Pharaoh got canceled on CPAC on February 22nd. And, it's interesting because see here. So this happened 189 days or 6 months and 8 days before young Pharaoh's birthday. And young Pharaoh equals 68. And young Pharaoh also equals 201 in the Francis Bacon ciphers. And he started his channel on the 201st day of the year and released his first video on the Jesuit anniversary, right? So it syncs up to the Jesuit stuff. I'm not disagreeing. But I'm saying that I feel like they're manipulating us to make us see these connections to the Jesuits and how it's, connected. I'm not saying the Jesuits aren't important, but I'm saying that whatever else is going on, it's showing us that it's the Jesuits, which is either something possibly trying to help us, or it's something that, they want us to believe and think and see, right? So they can rule us, just like how they do it with other things, such as, I don't want to say it because I know people, but like flat earth, is a good example to me. Like they created that within the truth community and a lot of people ran with it. And I'm not saying that it isn't real. I don't know for sure, but it's kind of a distraction because there's just no way that it's really going to ever be proved, so I don't know. I just feel like that they're kind of, Alex Jones in the truth community a little bit, if that makes sense. But notice how CPAC also equals 189. That was 189 days after young Pharaoh's birthday. If you go from that day to Zach's birthday, it's 149 days. And Zachary K. Hubbard equals 149. He also equals 68. And once again, it was 6 months and 8 days before young Pharaoh's birthday. Let me see here. I thought they might take down Zach's channel on 218 just because it was such an important number. So the word moon also equals 218 in the Hebrew lettering. I think I'll just leave it here. I wanted to show these connections for a while, and I got inspired tonight on my way to give my girlfriend's brother a ride to work. And it's really funny that I'm actually making this video and that I'm thinking about it because today is 3/17, which is the day that I've been following with Zach too. It's if he does a Gematria Effect tonight, it'll be the 218th episode of the Gematria Effect on St. Patty's Day. And I talked about this in a different video too, but it's super synced up, to Ireland and Zach and so on. So we'll see. Maybe he won't even do an episode tonight, or, I'm just interested. I feel like there might not even be any like big event, but I'm definitely, I can't even, I'm not even able to listen to it because I'm going to be at the bar DJing, but I just feel like there's something I'm supposed to learn from this episode or something, you know what I'm saying? Like, or maybe there is going to be a story about Ireland, or, I mean, obviously it's St. Patty's Day, that would make sense, but there's some connection that's going on with it, and there's something I know that I'm supposed to learn or something from it, so. Yeah. Man, I wish I had more time. It sucks I was going to go to dumbass work because I want to make some other videos. Like, I just made that video about Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, and literally the next day I got a copyright claim on a video from 2015 about Queen Elizabeth and Pope Francis and the New York Mets and the Royals and so on, and the Charlie Hebdo thing. I mean, I don't know, for years I've talked about how Charlie Hebdo was synced up to Prince Charles and the royal family, and now we got Charlie Hebdo having Queen Elizabeth kneel on Meghan Markle's neck, and, of course it's connected to Paris, and Prince Charles and King Charles, the Charleses from the English Civil War. King Charles I, he married Henrietta Maria of France, right? Also born on Charles Manson's birthday, and you know, King Charles, and then Prince Charles's wife died in France, and Diana synced up to the moon, and it's just so many things going on here. Literally just had the death of Don Rickles' wife, too. Don Rickles' wife. If you go back to 2016, I was following this big space theme, and I talked about how it was important to Eugene Cernan and also Neil Armstrong. And then a week later, Buzz Aldrin was hospitalized. And then, like a couple days after that, John Glenn died. And then a month after that, Eugene Cernan died. And when Eugene Cernan died, I talked about how it was connected to Don Rickles because Eugene Cernan roasted Don Rickles. And it was a famous roast, apparently. This guy's a famous roaster, and then Eugene Cernan roasted Don Rickles, and the World Series was synced up to the Comedy Central roast of Donald Trump, and a whole bunch of stuff. So I knew it was important. And then Don Rickles ends up dying on 4/6, the same day of John Glenn's funeral. But now his wife just dies on Pi Day, which was Eugene Cernan's birthday. Also Steph Curry, and a whole lot more that I talked about back then. Because the same day that the Eugene Cernan died, the Cleveland Cavaliers lost to the Warriors by 35 points, and they had just got Kevin Durant, who wore the number 35, and when there was like 35 points, one of the teams had 35 points, LeBron and King James, right? King James equals 35. LeBron and Draymond Green got in a fight when I think the Cavs had 35 points, and NASA equaled 35, and a whole lot more. You know, it was all synced up to space, and I later started thinking it was connected to the Houston Rockets because of space and so on. But it turned out that the Warriors were supposed to win that year, and whatever. Mike Brown was the interim coach because Steve Kerr was out, and his birthday, Mike Brown's birthday is 3/5, and a whole lot more. So if I had more time, I'd make more videos. Maybe there's no way I'll be able to make one tomorrow, but eventually I'll get around to it. But have a good one. Peace. So I actually didn't have time to upload this video that I started on March 17th. Today is now March 19th. So I'm just going to add a few things that I realized one of the things that I forgot that I wanted to talk about in relation to Zach was that, so earlier in this video I said that he got a strike on his channel 201 days after his birthday. 201, this big number with the Jesuits and so on. And because of that strike, he started this new channel, Gematria Effect News 21. And he just so happened to start this on 2/15, which is the 46th day of the year. And it was 5 months and 6 days before his birthday, right? The word Catholic equals 46, 5 months and 6 days, a number that's associated with coronavirus and the Jesuits and so on, right? Society of Jesus 56. Also, in relation to the number 33 being so important, notice that it's 156 days, and if you write out 33 as words, it equals 156. Also, if you write out, don't use the number and actually write this out as a number, 21, it actually subs to 215, and then he put the channel out, he started the channel on 2/15, the date, which can also be written as 15/2, which sticks out to me because that's a number I've talked about with the Gematria Effect, and how I'm supposed to pay attention to the Gematria Effect that is on 3/17 or whatever. So, the Gematria Effect 152. And that's going to make sense here in a second because I actually listened to like the first hour of the Gematria Effect last night. And then I was too tired. I was writing a blog post because of it. But there is a very interesting thing that is going on with it. Well, let me finish this post, like going through here really quick. But he started this new channel also 1 year, 3 months, and 2 days after his last channel, right? 132 or 15 months and 2 days, right? Once again, the Gematria Effect 152, Catholic Church 132, Roman Catholic 132. He did on his channel, he made the final video on 3/2, and he used the little clip of Looney Tunes. Looney Tunes equals 132. YouTube also equals 132 in the Francis Bacon ciphers. And the end, just so happens to equal 56. The end. And that final video was 224 days after his birthday, also 7 months and 9 days. And once again, these numbers connected to the Jesuits. Society of Jesus 79, the Society of Jesus 224. And his new channel 215 is also 224 days before the Jesuit anniversary. So, you know, once again, I'm not saying that he did it all on purpose, but there's something more that is going on. That's what I'm trying to piece together, These things, everything happens for a reason. We all have our own path, And it seems that, he was destined to expose this knowledge. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, so last night I turned on the Gematria Effect. Like I said, I didn't have time to listen to it. And the first caller who calls in is like a rapper from the Toronto area. And as I'm listening to it, she mentions the number 218 of all numbers. She's talking about some other numbers, but she does mention the number 218. So I'm watching this episode because it's the 218th episode, and there's something important to how this date synced up and everything. And she mentions the number 218. She's the first caller. And then Zach goes on to mention how Toronto is an area to watch because it just turned 187 years old on the date 3/6. And Toronto equals 36 and frontwards and backwards and so on. And, this is the number in association with the Jesuits, 187. And I just never realized that before. I didn't realize it was the 187th year. And it's even funnier because I was watching the date 3/6 because of Allen Iverson and the number 19 and a bunch of stuff. And once again, remember how on 1/9 Zach did the video with RV Truth that was important, synced up to the RV bombing and, all kinds of stuff. But you just have to watch some previous videos to kind of build up to what I'm saying. Otherwise, I got to re-explain it a million times. But on 3/6, the big news was that the Senate passed the 1.9 trillion COVID relief bill, right? So the number 19 synced up to the number, synced up to the date 3/6, the date I was following, important to Zach, and so on. And remember, in the year 19, Toronto was very important because Toronto held SummerSlam right after the Toronto Raptors won the NBA Finals, and they held SummerSlam on August 11th, that really important day, to Tisha B'Av, and, we thought there was going to be something important to the Golden Gate Bridge and San Francisco as well, and, there's all kinds of stuff with it. So I'm just going, Toronto, 187th year of Toronto. I've also previously mentioned how the date 4/16 seems to be important. And part of it it was connected to the death of my aunt in 2020. And also when we got the death of Alex Trebek that I talked about was important to the death of Sean Connery and a whole lot more. But that was all important to the number 416. And then right after that, on Charles Manson's birthday, we got the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air reunion. And let me find my post here, but I'm just the reason I even looked into any of this. So the girl that calls in, she mentions how her friend that she grew up with in Canada also died, and he was a rapper, I think he was, and this is him, John James. And what stuck out to me is that he died at the age of 34, and I'm thinking about all the stuff with Toronto, and a lot of the stuff with Toronto that I've talked about previously had to do with Ronda Rousey coming out at WrestleMania 34 and, a whole lot more. And then, or she came out at the WrestleMania, at the Royal Rumble in Philadelphia, and that was and then she made her first debut, wrestling debut, at WrestleMania 34 in 2018. And that was the big year with the bridge symbolism, too, with Pope Francis and the number 81 and bridges. And anyway, recall that in the year 2021 in January, we had the 34th Royal Rumble, which, Royal Rumble, think about earthquakes and so on. And then the very next day, Ronda Rousey turned 34 years old. And the girl who won the Royal Rumble was Bianca Belair, the girls' Royal Rumble. And the guy who won was Edge, who's built from Toronto. And the girl who won is Bianca Belair, which reminds us of Los Angeles. But in 2020, right after Kobe Bryant died, I made a post about all of this, and I talked about how the 2021 Royal Rumble will be important because it's going to be the 34th Royal Rumble. I even mentioned how Bridge equals 36, like Toronto equals 36. It was the upcoming WrestleMania 36. Talked about how it's important to Japan, and then on 2/13, we got that major earthquake in Japan this year. But later in that post on 2/23/2020, I said I just discovered there's a wrestler named Bianca Belair. And I pointed out that Kobe Bryant's connection to the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. And since 2015, I said how Ronda Rousey was important to Kobe Bryant and the number 34, and Kobe died on the third month and fourth day of the NBA season that year, and a ton more. But, Kobe Bryant was also synced up to the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, who was Wilt Chamberlain, who went to the same high school as Will Smith, and then, Wilt Chamberlain dies in Bel-Air, and then Will Smith's from Philadelphia, just like Kobe Bryant, and a ton of stuff. There's a connection to the Fresh Prince and Kobe Bryant, and I was like, that's interesting, Bianca Belair. And then Bianca Belair just goes on to win the 2020 Royal Rumble that I said was going to be important. Or, I noticed that there was importance to this because it was the 34th Royal Rumble. But, and she's even going to be fighting at the WrestleMania 37 that was supposed to be held in Los Angeles this year, but now it's going to be held in Tampa Bay because of coronavirus, right? And it was WrestleMania 37 and Los Angeles equals 37. And the Toronto Raptors are playing their home games in Tampa right now. Remember, the Toronto Blue Jays also started playing their home games in Buffalo on August 11th last year. And they started the season off against the Tampa Bay Rays, who made the World Series against the Los Angeles Dodgers. And remember, a big thing in that World Series was that there was two players with the name Will Smith, the Fresh Prince. But notice that WrestleMania 37 that's coming up, Bianca Belair is going to be fighting Sasha Banks. And think about this in relation to the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, right? The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Will Smith, he moves in with the Banks family. Carlton Banks, Philip Banks, Vivian Banks. So, and the year that Ronda Rousey came into the WWE at WrestleMania 34, that was also a year I talked big time about bridge collapses and how it was synced up to the Philadelphia Eagles in the Super Bowl. And then we got the FIU bridge collapse in March that year on the 44th mayor of San Francisco's 44th birthday. And he became the mayor 4 months and 4 days before the 81st anniversary of the Golden Gate Bridge opening. And Golden Gate Bridge equals 81. The word Pope equals 81. Pope Francis and Pope Benedict's birthdays are separated by 8 months and 1 day. And Pope Benedict's birthday is 4/16, right? That is the area code of Ontario or Toronto. 4/16, 416 is the area code. Think about the date 4/16, Toronto, Ontario, and the Francis Bacon ciphers equals 416. So there's something, I think it's an important day. And Toronto was also incorporated in the year 34, right? March 6th of the year 34. And 4/16 just so happens to be the day that it's 37 days before the day that Los Angeles became a city, May 23rd. And it's also right now currently in the 185th year. The word Japan equals 185. Ronda Jean Rousey equals 185. It became a pueblo. Los Angeles became a pueblo because of the 44 Los Pobladores, right? 44. Notice how it was also incorporated on 4-4. The word earthquakes 44. But, it's founded by 44 settlers known as Los Pobladores. If you just write out Pobladores, it equals 44. There's just something special to this relationship. And I know right when I listened to this first caller on the Gematria Effect, I was like, dude, this is what I was supposed to hear right away. And maybe there's more. I haven't even finished listening to it, but there's something, and it's a perfect year. Society of Jesus 187, Toronto 187. Seems to be linked up to Los Angeles. And remember in 2019, in March, I believe it was, March or April, I think it was April, I talked about how Luke Walton was important to a king narrative, and there was also a narrative with Los Angeles and earthquakes synced up to the Angel of Independence statue. And then on Independence Day, we got a major earthquake in Los Angeles, right? And then Kawhi Leonard signed with the Clippers of Los Angeles, and the Disney guy died of shaking, like from seizures, right? Shaking, earthquakes. 416 is also 2 months and 16 days after the 34th Royal Rumble this year. And Los Angeles and the Francis Bacon ciphers equals 216. 416 is 141 days before Los Angeles was founded as a puebla, which is interesting because the 141st prime is 811. San Francisco, California equals 141. Remember, I'm exactly 8 months and 11 days older than Zach. 416 is also 55 days before Prince Philip's birthday. And this just interests me. We got Prince Philip, and remember Uncle Phil was important. And it's 55 days before, and Will Smith equals 55. Remember, they did the reunion 55 days after Will Smith's birthday and 55 days before Janet Hubert's birthday, who played Vivian on the show. And Will Smith's also in the movie Focus, that's all about the number 55. So we just had Super Bowl 55. 416 is the 106th day of the year, and 10 months and 6 days, like 106 after Prince Philip's birthday. And his birthday's on 6/10 or also 10/6. It's also on the 161st day of the year. Los Angeles also equals 161 in the Francis Bacon ciphers. Prince Harry's lives in Los Angeles now. Meghan Markle, so. We also just had Trevor Bauer sign with the Los Angeles Dodgers, right? And his birthday's January 17th. The word bridge is 117. Toronto, Dodgers. It's going to be the 117th World Series. He was important to the year 2016 when I thought the Indians were going to be in the World Series because he injured his finger against the Toronto Blue Jays, too. So, and it's just interesting, right? Toronto Blue Jays. I'm going to watch WrestleMania 37 for sure. Actually, I have to pay the probably $10 and waste a Sunday. Notice, too, in relation to it being the 187th year of Toronto, the date 416 is 201 days after the Jesuit anniversary. So who knows? Maybe I'm going to continue to watch that date for sure. There's always, it's always like this big rabbit hole. You follow these narratives, and a big event doesn't always happen, but there's always more to learn on that certain day. And then eventually it all makes sense. It might be 3 years down the road, and you go, that's why all that stuff was happening. So it's too bad I can't figure out, you know, the exact thing that is supposed to happen, but, it's like a learning experience. But really in the gist of it, haven't really been doing this information for that long, you know, like not compared to, you know, I'm 38 years old, so be all man, can you imagine if you learned some of this stuff when you were like 5 years old and when you first started learning about numbers and letters and I'm just gonna keep talking here, what the heck? But I know, see, and this is the thing, like there's let me look at this other story here, but there was a murder that's like 10 minutes away from where I live. And I mean, it's literally a really small town. The town I live in is like 1,000 people. I know went to high school with this town and so on. And two kids I know got into a fight at the bar, like, can't remember what year it was, 2013, I think it was. And then the other guy shot the guy and whatever. That was all by the numbers. It was like the guy who got murdered, his name was 51, and he died like 51 days after his birthday or before his birthday or something of the sort, and whatever. And I'm like, I don't know. There's a whole bunch more. It was really super connected, big time. And we recently got another murder in this town, and it's interesting because when I was looking it up, I was like, look at this. The guy who got murdered, he died at the age of 46. Catholics 46. He died 191 days before his birthday. Society of Jesus equals 191. He died 147 days after the Jesuit anniversary. And the town that he lived in, or died in, Dow City, Iowa, equals 147. So 147 days after the Jesuit anniversary, and he dies 191 days before his birthday. He was 46, and Catholic equals 46. But look at this. The girl who shot him, his girlfriend or whatever, her name equals 56, just like Society of Jesus. And I'm going, you know, this isn't a mainstream story, but look how it syncs up to the Jesuits, right? There's so many things. Like, I just made a video talking about how all of my uncles and whatever, they all died connected to the Jesuits, which is, in 2017 was when I really started talking about the Jesuits like no other, at the very beginning, because my uncle died at Creighton, the Jesuit University. And of course, we just got the story about Greg McDermott, the Creighton basketball coach, using the word plantation when he was 56 years old and he got suspended. So I know there's, you know, I get it. That's why I'm saying I feel like they're manipulating our minds somehow. And like it's obvious they want us to know it's the Jesuits for some reason, you know? Like, but that makes me question if it is the Jesuits. Like, they're part of it, but like it's way bigger than that, you know what I mean? And you also had like the sack of Rome that was before the Jesuits were even established on 5-6, and sack of Rome equals 56. It's not so much the connection to the Jesuits, it's more the power that exists behind the code, if that makes sense to me. Like, you know, or to you, I guess. To me, I think it's more of how the numbers work, and what you associate it with really doesn't have to make that, you know, it doesn't have to mean as much, but it's the power that's within the numbers that's important. And we see all these connections to the Jesuits and so on, and you know they're important. It's absolutely important, and the Catholic Church is important, but it's just it goes deeper than this, I think, you know, and I don't know. But I don't know what I don't know the message I'm trying to convey with making this video. It's just the fact that I'm stuck and I want to learn more, and everybody has all of these ideas and I listen to them, but at the same time I'm like, is that really the way? Is that really what's going on? Possibly, you know. It sucks that it's not more definitive, you know. Why it's like why is everything a parable, and why is everything a mystery that you have to solve, and then you solve it and then there's more, and so on, you know. I don't know. But anyway, in regards to the story, even more connected to the numbers with this lady who murdered the guy in the town just a few minutes away. She did this murder 122 days after her birthday, and it was on the date 2/21, which is, you know, the reflection is 1/22. And notice that her birthday and the guy she murdered's birthdays were separated by 1 month and 22 days as well. So she does the murder 122 days after her birthday. But she murders a guy whose birthday is 1 month and 22 days before hers on the 52nd day of the year, and their birthdays are 52 days apart. You know, and the Jesuits didn't do this, did they? You know what I'm saying? Like, even though it's connected to them. And what's even funnier is just yesterday at work, I learned that this lady is actually the sister to a guy that I work with. It's like, that's unbelievable. I'm mind blown. Like, or did they somehow control this lady's mind? And, I don't know for sure, but I'm assuming she was on drugs. And, is there a way that they made this murder happen somehow, just whatever, and they knew that I was supposed to see it, or, I got a lot of questions. I also think that it's important because the next town up from where I live is Denison, Iowa, which I've talked a whole lot about over the years with the importance to Kevin Costner and the movie JFK. And now we have, Joe Biden as the 46th president, the second Catholic president after JFK, who died at the age of 46, and so on. And Denison, Iowa equals 56 and also 221. And then, this murder happened on 221. I got a feeling there's something important to that. Let's look at the Greg McDermott story while I'm just on this. We had the Creighton basketball coach. It's like, just when I think it's like, oh, maybe it's not all the Jesuits and so on, then all of a sudden they're like, oh, we'll give you a story about the Jesuit school Creighton and their coach, who's 56 years old. Just put it out really quick. 56 years old. And they do it, it supposedly happens on 227, and Pope Francis equals 227. Remember last year, Pope Francis got sick on the date 227 during the time of coronavirus and whatever. The story also happened 94 days after his 56th birthday. Creighton Blue Jays equal 94. It's also 271 days before his next birthday. The 58th prime number is 271. 227 was the 58th day of the year. Pope Francis equals 58. The word plantation equals 58. Then they suspended him for one game on 3-6 even. Interesting. Or wait, which Creighton went on to win. Yeah, they suspended him for one game on 3-6 even. This day that I was watching for. And then they become 18-7 on the same day that Toronto turned 187 years old. Butler, hold on, I'm gonna look this up really quick. Well, I'll just pull up the one with all of them, but Butler. And Butler equals 78 like Jesuit, and 84 like Jesuit, and 110 like Jesuit. Butler, it's Bulldogs, I believe, right? And 170. The number I'm talking about was Zach, huh? Wow. 208 is also interesting because 4/16 is 208 days before my birthday. Let's see what Toronto is again. Toronto, Ontario. It's 209. Well, no, I saw it's 416. Also 221. Dude. Crazy. Maybe that is what it's about. See, it's like the weirdest thing. Like I'm just I'm making a video talking about random things and then like saying how I think there's something it's important to Toronto. And then I just talk about 221 randomly, just showing a thing with the Jesuits, and then Toronto, Ontario is 221. Charles Manson's also 416, right? Like Will Smith, Willard Carroll Smith Jr. equals 416. And they did the Fresh Prince reunion on Charles Manson's birthday, 416. 209, so I do not know. I'm going to think more about that, though. Or maybe see how the date 3-6 syncs up to some of this stuff, but How interesting. I didn't even really look that much into the thing either. I don't even know if Butler's in the tournament. I have no idea. I have to look at the bracket, but uh, yeah. In regards to the 172, look, Team LeBron. They scored 170 points. Brooklyn Nets equal 170. It was 34 days before WrestleMania 37. The begin or whatever 410. Giannis was the MVP, number 34. Bucks 34. Remember Ronda Rousey's UFC debut was at UFC 157. Kobe Bryant equals 157, died 157 days after his birthday. See what else I put in here. It was also synced up to the movie They Live and Roddy Piper. And Roddy Piper was born on the 107th day of the year, and his full name equals 107. Hulk Hogan was synced up to his birthday's August 11th. Shaq supposedly just got knocked out. Shaq wore the number 34, right? By Cody Rhodes in the AEW. Even though he's like moving his arm and whatever. I wrote Royal Rumble in here, but when WrestleMania begins, the Lakers are even playing the Brooklyn Nets. So the Warriors are playing the Rockets. The Warriors are I mean, there's just so much to go on with, but talk about DeMarcus Cousins, how he's important to the Houston Rocket narrative forever. And then that's why he went to the Lakers. And then after he he leaves the Lakers, and then the next season he plays for the Rockets. Like, oh, the odds, but we'll leave it there. Hopefully I'll make some of these other videos today if I get a chance, but I got some other stuff to do. This video is super long, but need to listen to Gematria Effect too, but have a good one. Peace.